how's everybody doing? It's nice to see so many awesome people here. It's a pleasure to be back here at DevGAMM. Thank you guys for having me. This is my first time in Poland, I think. I don't remember the other times, which is a crazy story. So, before I jump into this right here, how many people maybe know about Hello Neighbor? Cool, so quite a few people, awesome, thank you. Thank you for knowing about it. Do you guys know that there's a cartoon? Okay, some people, great, good. So, welcome to Ravenbrooks. This is the animated series from Tiny Build. So I'm gonna go into the journey. Come with me on this journey. We're gonna talk about what it took to take a game into animation. It's been a lot of fun, it's been a lot of work, it's been a lot of learnings, and we'll talk. So who am I? Who's this guy talking really fast who looks like a human cartoon? My name is Jonathan Joyce. I also go by John Carnage. I've been in the games industry for a pretty long time. I started out as a pro wrestler, the WWE stuff. Wasn't very good at it, so I decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna become an internet personality, whatever that means. But I have a pretty good background. I started out working as one of the founding team members of a small website back in the day, which now became a big website called Twitch TV. Do you guys know about Twitch? Okay, cool. No, some people still don't. So I came from a time when people didn't know about Twitch. So when I would come up here, thank you, DevGAMM, and I would talk about Twitch, Twitch was really small. Twitch was like something that people would laugh at. Oh, like, who's gonna watch streaming? Everybody. You're welcome. So I started out as the director, the first content director of Twitch. And what that meant was I found cool things and I supported them by putting them on the front page. Also like a creative director in a sense too. And then I moved from content director to director of strategic partnerships. So then I helped create Twitch Studios. Twitch Studios, their first party content, a lot of cool stuff that you see on the Twitch front page and stuff, comes from Twitch Studios. So, in that whole crazy thing, in creating the Twitch Studios and all the other cool stuff that went with that, I ended up working for an animation company in America called Cartoon Network. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Cartoon Network. No. Yes, one person. Cool. Two. Okay, a few people. So I was working for their sister company called Adult Swim. Are you guys familiar with Adult Swim? Cool. Oh, more hands. More hands for that one. So I started working at Adult Swim. I also worked in some more in-house titles, like Rick and Morty and stuff like that. So I do have a bit of a background in animation after leaving Twitch. But before we go into all the stuff I'm gonna talk about with Hello Neighbor, welcome to Ravenbrooks. You see, one of the more interesting things is I've never really talked about this publicly. I've never shown the video. I was a pro wrestler. And so I'm gonna share with you guys what I think is really a good example of disruptive content. See, I was really known in the ecosystem of Twitch of coming up with ideas that were totally different but familiar at the same time. And one of the things that I did was I worked with EVE Online to come up with a non-sanctioned MMA fight tournament, and I fought against a professional fighter named Gunnar Nelson. He's from Iceland. He was one of the most famous Icelandic fighters ever. And so here we go. This is me fighting in my first ever non-sanctioned MMA fight. No audio? That's okay, we can make it work. So, I fought in front of several thousand people. It was also on closed circuit television in Iceland. So it was airing in all the bars. There's Gunnar Nelson, there's me. Who do you think's gonna win? Me, yeah. So I go into this cage fight and immediately end up in an arm bar. And then he's even laughing. He's laughing, I'm in so much agony right there, that hurt so bad. So why did I show that? It's what you would call counter-programming. It's something that's different and familiar at the same time. So when I was given this incredible opportunity to work on the animated series for Hello Neighbor, I was like, cool, let's do some interesting things that may have never been done before in animation, and let's give it a shot. But before I welcome you to Ravenbrooks, let's take another detour. Let's go down another lane, a memory lane, if you might have it. So in 2018, I was with Adult Swim, and I sat with the founders. I've known Alex and Luke for a long time, and we're having breakfast at PAX. And we were just talking about content, we were just talking about Hello Neighbor, we were just talking about everything. But because I was already at Adult Swim and I was doing interesting stuff with animation, I just presented to them, hey guys, why don't you just make a cartoon? That's it. That's literally what I said. And little did I know that it actually stuck with them. And fast forward a little bit, the folks at Tiny Build, I wasn't part of Tiny Build yet, had already started taking the initiative to create an animation, an animated series. So the pilot was born. I came into the pilot while the pilot was being made. So I noticed a lot of things that needed to be worked on, but I didn't want to get in the way of progress, right? Rami was over here talking about, hey, speed is everything, right? So I didn't want to slow things down, because what had actually come from it was an amazing bit of animation that had never been done before from this studio, and really hasn't actually been done since from any other studios like this. So we finished the pilot, we aired the pilot, and to our surprise, it was not just a hit, it was a mega hit. And some of these numbers, 13 million views, 20 million. Some of our friends doing a watch along or rebroadcast of it, talking about it. And then down here, you guys can't see it. This is one of my favorite things, is that people are taking the in-game assets and making them into mods for the game itself. So it was a big hit, and it was a public pitch. We had to see internally if it was going to work. We had to see if there was actually a demand for it, and there was. So there was a huge demand for it. And so let's keep moving forward. As we started creating the cartoon, there was a lot of learnings that came along with it. It was only a 20-minute pilot, the first episode. So as we were creating it, we realized that, it felt a little bit too young for it. And the script itself, even though Carly did an incredible job, and I thank her for it, the script itself also needed to be enhanced, because she comes from writing the novels. So for people who don't know, the scriptwriter that we had for the pilot also wrote the books. And so we needed to work with people in Hollywood who know how to write scripts, because writing a book is a little bit different than writing a script. So, and also the voiceover. Some of the feedback that we got, but also the feedback that we had internally, was that the voices were a little wonky, and that's okay, because it was made really quick. And I agree with it. Actually, I agree with everything that the feedback came back from the community and internally. These are all the key points that we learned that we needed to work on. And as we figured out, okay, look, we're gonna go for this, we're gonna do this, because the feedback and the support from the community and everything was just so hyped. We said, we're gonna self-fund it. We're gonna do this our way, because we're gonna do it in-house. We're gonna create something special where other people can't dictate to us what you should do with a cartoon. So we're self-funded. And now, I can finally welcome you guys to Ravenbrooks. You see, if you notice the first GIF of the flag banner welcoming everybody to Ravenbrooks was a little bit different, the one that had like the detour on it. This is actually taking the tone from the first animation and darkening it up and making it a little bit more of a kids' horror story. So now that we're here in Ravenbrooks, I'd like to show you a video. Hopefully you can hear some of it. Cool. So now, welcome to Ravenbrooks is a full-fledged animated series that is coming together right now with a more kid horror tone. It's something really special. It's something that hasn't been really seen before in animation. And as it's coming together, the first thing before even coming to the stylization of the tone and everything, we had to create the stylization and tone through a proper script. And now when we were creating this script, there's been a ton of development that has gone into this. And some of that development was finding the right people to work with. Now the folks that we're working with in creation and Man of Action Studio, you might not recognize their names just by seeing their banners here. But between the two of them, there's about like 30 years worth of animation creation. And one of the big things that Man of Action Studios has worked on was an anime called Big Hero 6. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one from Disney. That was a huge hit in America, worldwide. And another thing that they worked on is called Ben 10. So as we were figuring out, hey, these guys have an incredible background in making awesome animation and writing incredible scripts. And creation. They've written a ton of comic books and some of the new stuff that's actually out on Netflix right now. So we found the guys, we found the team, because when we were in development creating this, they got it right away. But when we had talked to other folks in the beginning, they didn't get it right away. It was really an easy choice to work with these incredible folks, because in a creative conversation, it goes in a lot of different directions, but we all agreed that it needed to be in a certain tone, and it needed to be super respectful to the Hello Neighbor franchise, which is so beloved by so many. And Hello Neighbor, you know, it's got a lot of stories, and we had to figure out how to bring all of that together. And how do you do that? How do you create some of this together? How do you bring it all together? And with deep development of characters, you do something that's called the character wheel. And in this character reel, see, I had to cover some of this up because not all the animes have been out yet. Not every single story has been revealed, so I don't want to give away everything. But in creating a character reel, you actually have some development of Trinity, who is our main character, Maritza, Enzo, Nikki, Mystery, and all of these things interact with each other. And what you do when you create a character wheel is you create a long-term story, because we are telling a full-fledged long-term story, something that really goes deeper into Ravenbrooks than some of the games and stuff, right? We have to create a full picture, not just a creepy neighbor across the street, which is Peterson. And then when you go into the characters, so we did a character wheel for pretty much everyone, because the development of this is so serious and so in-depth. It means so much to so many people, so we have to get it right. But as we're developing the characters, we took some of the more iconic characters from the Inventors Club and brought them to life via animation. Wow, we're almost the same height. And of course, Peterson. We have to get Peterson right. That's the most important one to us. But as you can see, the entire team is here, the squad is here, Nikki's here. And so we really had to create characters from the ground up that were already developed in-game. But we had to be super respectful to the in-game assets because we don't want to step on that universe. And of course, getting Peterson right is super, super, super important. As you can see, some of the early models that we have of Peterson, he's not as big, not as juggernaut, not as Bane as he started becoming later on. Believe it or not, this was a huge conversation, how to create Peterson. How big should he be? How should his face look? He's such an iconic character, we have to get him right. And I think that we're doing a pretty good job the more that we craft the Hello Neighbor universe into life through animation. And as you can see, he's doing something, somewhere, mischievous. But, you know, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he just totally misunderstood? And that's the stuff that we all have to bring together as we're bringing animation to life. There's many faces to Peterson. Some of the more iconic stuff that's over here through in-game purchases. Some of the more creepy stuff of him just being the creepy guy across the street that no one understands. But if you play the game, of course, you understand what's going on. But if you haven't played the game, you're in for a surprise because then you can go play the game and you can get more insight. And that's part of the complexity of bringing Raven Brooks to life, is that there's this whole world of information that already exists that myself and my team, we all have to make sense of. And some of that stuff we don't make sense of through through anything verbally. We do it through animation. None of these characters spoke except for that moment right there. Well, hello, neighbor. I think that's how he sounded. And this part right here is just music playing with our credits at the end of the series. And some of the characters that actually changed over time, Mr. Bales, Mrs. Bales, Trinity's parents. They're totally looking different now. But I wanted to show you guys this whole process. Like, nothing is set in stone in the beginning phase of this stuff. Mr. Murtaugh, another character that wasn't in the game. Some characters had to be created from the ground up because we're telling a story, and we had to involve new characters that people can say, oh, cool, that's what's going on in Raven Brooks. Shout out to anybody that knows where this costume came from. There's Easter eggs stacked on Easter eggs and Easter eggs stacked on Easter eggs creating this. Like I said before, we have a lot of canon that we have to capture. We have a lot of stuff we have to look into. There's video games, obviously. There's books, comic books, fandom. Love the fandom. Thank you guys, inspiring me all the time. But yeah, there's a lot of canon that we have to get right. And there's a lot of canon that we could play with. Because we're doing this from in-house, we've been given an opportunity to change things up a little bit, but always within reason. So that goes into the story. What the hell is this thing about, right? Well, it's about a fish out of water story with Trinity Bales moving to a new neighborhood in Raven Brooks. She has a mysterious past, and she's the new kid in town. As you can see by her crossed arms, she's not really happy to be here. She's kind of curious with what's going on. And why would she be upset to be moving into such a beautiful house? Going into the canon of the universe of Hello Neighbor, the art style within game has everything kind of tilted and jagged and weird. And so we took that. And when you create something that has everything look weird, we have to get even weirder when we do Peterson stuff. Again, we're still telling a fish out of water story, so we couldn't forget the Inventors Club. That came from another game. So we knew that we needed to incorporate all the characters that mattered. And when you're telling a fish out of water story, you kind of start feeling everybody's a fish out of water because Raven Brooks is such a weird place. I wanted to show you guys some of the VO, but actually it won't work because there's no audio. Isn't that's just the way it works, huh? So the way we're doing audio right now is really interesting because of all the changes that have happened over the course of the past 3 years. So what you're seeing right now is our voice director giving the actress who's playing Trinity, Kimberly, some notes on what is going on with the character. And we're doing that over Zoom with very specific, very special VO equipment. It's not just like a regular microphone. Although, shout outs to everybody who does regular stuff with microphones because technology is always awesome and changing and moving up. So you could do a lot of cool stuff with that stuff. So what was going on there is we were doing a VO session. Those sessions can go on for 6, 7, 8 hours while we record the episodes. So this is our cast. This is just some of our cast because not every episode has been aired yet. And so these are some of the amazing VO actors that we have. Some folks are new, some people aren't. Some have been around a while, some people are just coming onto the scene. And so how did we capture what's going on in-game with changing it with the animation? As you can see, the Inventors Club didn't really have a club. They kind of just had like this dope car, weird stuff in it. And the Inventors Club, which we needed, we created with all the assets that we could work with to make a club in school. The most iconic stuff that we had to get right, the most iconic stuff that we had to like really push for was Peterson's house. And as you can see in game here, and I'll get out of the way for the cartoon. And over time, the house is really, really, really important in game. And so we definitely take that into consideration. And so here's some more stuff. Sorry, I'm very limited with what I could do because, you know, we're visual. But this is another iconic scene from in-game. Has the TV, the messy house. Here's another scene from the cartoon. These are all called boards, and these boards are hand-painted. So these look pretty good. And again, Hello Neighbor 2. In-game, the school, our school. Again, we have to take liberties. We have to make things look a little bit different. But as you can see, the jagged edges, blue, Ravenbrooks Middle School. Of course, Ravenbrooks Middle School. I'm dyslexic, so I can actually read it like that. And then we even took concept art and messed with that too. This is the most iconic weather station, Mayak, and this is from the cartoon. One of my most favorite parts of creating this animation is the world building that we've been able to do with including a plethora of Easter eggs from the Tiny Build universe, just including them in the cartoon in the right place. Alex, I don't know if you knew this, but everybody thinks this is you. You didn't know that? No, everybody thinks that's you. Obviously, Alex, our CEO of Tiny Build, he's here. We put him in an Easter egg in the game. Pigeon simulator, actual in-game assets, and other in-game assets from other games. Happy Humble's Burger Barn, which was in episode 2, which was, I think there's like 20,000 comments. Basically, 15,000 of those comments are just about having Happy Humbles there. So I'm gonna have to go pretty quick. I'm gonna skip this, go right here. We have a variant version. We have a YouTube clean version. We have a deleted version. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Shout outs to anybody that knows where this came from. There's not just Easter eggs with in-game stuff, there's also Easter eggs with iconic films that have been an inspiration in creating this. So what you saw was an early preview if you saw the 2 animations that came out, and we're super excited to keep going in this journey and eventually releasing a full season coming out soon, but it'll be ready when it's ready, and it's almost ready. So thank you guys very much. I don't know if there's any time for questions or if this is, no, he's saying there's no questions. We're out of here. But thank you guys very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, DevGAMM.
Thank you very much, John.